Hey everyone, I'm David Room. Got something pretty interesting today. Um, we're going to be working on a ship component that I think tonight we will try to take from low poly, put it in the game, make a high poly version of it, see it in high detail 3D art, make a modified version for 3D printing, and maybe even 3D print it. So, for anyone who's new here, the project that I work on these live streams is my sci-fi game art project, and I create all of the models for it using Python code, and they're not really procedurally generated, and I don't actually use AI for this project to write the code. It's something I do by hand because I consider it to be an art project. Um, but I'm trying to design these ships and kind of parameterize everything and enjoy tweaking and tuning and building designs. And then the idea is that I can reuse the code in different ways, and whenever I create a component, even if it's something simple like we'll probably do tonight, I have an idea for a new design for a weapon, a ship mounted gun that I'll talk more about. Um, Even if it's something really simple, uh, we get to use it in a few different places. This sort of retro style game that I'm building, 3D printing, and high detail 3D art. So, just to show you what some of this looks like, here's a 3D printed model of the ship that we're working on. And I printed this out earlier this month, and it's actually one of the larger models that I've printed. And I printed it in a couple of pieces initially, and I left some of the smaller components off of it. Hey, Doug, nice to see you here. And thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it is turned out too. I left some of the different components off because, um, you know, there's different challenges and issues you run into when 3D printing things, and um, I want to sort of reuse things and be able to swap things out if they don't work. Um, I originally printed it. I didn't have these little satellite dishes or antennas, I guess they are technically, on it, um, because I didn't have a way to make these parts printable. But over actually the last weekend, I implemented something that lets me take kind of complex meshes and make this version of them. Like you can see, you know, you'll see the actual model when we get into it. You know, has like individual um, little supports for a feed for the dish, and this is like a printable version of it. So I was able to um, create the process for doing that and then print those and attach them. And now we're getting onto something similar here with the turrets. So the ship is supposed to have uh, a couple of little turrets. Well, they're not small. This is actually a pretty good sized ship. It would be several stories tall, or long in real life. You know, a person would maybe be about this high, right? Um, and the problem that I ran into is an interesting one, which is that the ship weapon designs that I have right now are a little bit too small to print nicely at this scale. And on the one hand, you could think of that as a problem. On the other hand, something I've been really looking forward to for a while with this project is this kind of process of feeding back and iterating on designs, um, using the fact that it's sort of a multimedia project and one of the applications is 3D printed, right? So when you're trying to actually make physical objects, you run into constraints. Some of my favorite sci-fi art is the art from the original Star Wars movies, and those ships were real. They were actually constructed, and that's part of the reason that they look the way they do, right? Is because they were actually constructed. So we're starting to get this interesting feedback cycle in my project where um, where these different requirements are feeding into each other and influencing the designs. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to replace um, the weapon design, which is currently something kind of like with the barrel and has some very thin parts, with something that is just a bigger, thicker, more rectangular gun piece. And we're going to just make something simple. We'll see it in the game, and then we will maybe take it into the high detail versions, and add and make some tweaks there. So this 3D printed version is based on the high detail version. We can see it in some 3D art, and then we'll probably tweak it a little bit to try to print it, and you'll kind of see how my code integrates all of those three things together. So let's get some music started and get into it. Now, it's been a little while since I have looked at the weapon stuff, so I'm going to have to refresh myself on that. But I think it should be pretty straightforward to get something going, and then we could tweak it. So let me share my screen here and get some music started. So as usual, we're going to be listening to White Bat audio. Looks like, just want to make sure. Sometimes OBS quits. OBS quits updating the screen share. I want to make sure that that's not happening here. So, okay. And we're going to listen to a 4-hour Cyberpunk Dark Synth mix. I don't think we're going to be going for that long today, but we'll see. I think I listened to this before and it was pretty intense, and that's kind of what I need tonight. So, okay. So, I'm doing almost all of this in Python, using a mixture of different libraries, functions, and pieces that I've written myself. And I'll try to kind of explain what I'm doing as we go. But okay, so let's just look at this model first. So this is the ship, and this is kind of what the low detail game version of it looks like. And we aren't actually going to have to modify this right now because the guns are separate. And I think the part set for the guns is called weapons. Oh yeah, and that's complaining because to use this older viewer because my new viewer doesn't support multiple routes yet. Okay, so you can see we've got a number of different styles of weapon here, and what we want here and what we're going to try to make is something that's about somewhere in between the size of these guns, like this gun and this gun, but just sort of like a very rectangular rectangular shape. Okay, so, and I'm imagining this to be a particle cannon. So we're just gonna sketch out some constants for the dimensions of it right away. And we can kind of look at this. I think yeah, these are using the procedural canon. Okay. And man, I can't type. And these, yeah, these are they're not like parameterized. They are what they are. So okay, so I think we want something like, so all these dimensions are in meters. I think we want something like 0.75 meters. We probably want it to be about 3 meters long. And 1.5 meters. There's not going to be a Y offset. There's not going to be a barrel, and there's not going to be a shaper. So for now, we're just going to start with a rectangular shape and just have that be it. And then if we want, we can give it a little bit of a trapezoid shape or a bevel or a little bit more complex shape for the high detail version, but for now let's just start with the simplest thing, and then we can view it in the game to double check that it looks like we expect to. So, and right away, actually, let's see if we can get away without having a special print mode. So a lot of my functions now have LOD, which is, you know, how detailed the model is, and then they also have a mode, which is like whether it's for basically on the computer or whether it's for printing. And I thought about separating these things out completely, but I kind of like having everything together because that encourages that feedback of the different aspects, and then you can look at something right away and see, oh, it's when we're printing it, we're making this part twice as thick. You're not hunting for different versions of it, you know, in different places. You can just see all that stuff right in one spot. So so yeah, the body is just going to be a box, and oh yeah, and then this is the, yeah, it's a Y offset that we want. So yeah, we'll add a translation for a Y offset right away because we're almost certainly going to want that. So the origin is going to be, you know, where we want it to pivot in the turret or on a gimbal. So that's why we want Y offset. So this is really simple, right? But once we have the basic shape, then we can start modifying it. And I think we're gonna actually, this offset might not be what I'm thinking it is. Yeah, let's skip the offset for... Actually, I'm overthinking. I need to just give it this offset. Off, and it'll just be 0. Okay. And then we're going to add it to the set of parts that we generate here. Oh shucks, we already have a pcan and B. I guess we'll call this pcan and C. Yeah, okay, so that's basically what I was expecting. Yeah, and we are going to need the offset. And it's going to have to be a lot longer. So I'm just going to look at one of these other functions and just see how I bet I translate the barrel to like where the body is. Oh, interesting. I just do the barrel. That's a good way to do it. Okay, longer. that's kind of the size that I was looking for, because it should be pretty big. Now, before we give it too much more detail, let's actually get it into the game so we can see it. So we're going to make one here. It's in between. And we'll just put some stats in quick here. Supposed to be And something else that I want to do here is I have a lot of the weapons and parts on ships kind of have these goofy colors, and probably want to start getting away from that. So we'll make it light gray. Now, excuse me. Now we need to make a turret. Turret for it, and I think the way I've got this set up, we shouldn't have to put any translation on it. Okay, now let's add it to, actually, let's just take a look at the ship first before updating the turret. And so we want to swap out those turrets. Okay, the shading's messed up, but otherwise that looks mostly right, but that turret is too small, so we need to put it on the T4 turret. And let's see. I need to add something that lets me zoom. But yeah, that's more or less what we want it to look like. Or what I was picturing. Now, it's pretty obvious that it can't be quite that long. But that's a good width. Okay, so we're on the right track here with what I was picturing. Let's make this a little bit better. So, So, yeah, what do we need to do? We need to shift it a little bit forward farther. Oops. Okay, and that should do that. Now, let's give it a little bit better shape here. So we'll have a rib, and And we'll just check this. So we want the width to be limited by our body width, but I'm picturing sort of like a double trapezoid shape. So let's just sketch it out. So there will be a point at 0. Actually, it's going to be width height equals. Okay, so we're going to be at width divided by 2, 0, and then we'll go up to this and minus this. See how many points we have here. Should have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and we'll actually look at this along with a rect for comparison, because we're trying to fit it inside that. And let's just exit here in case we. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I was wanting it to be. Yeah, okay. Now, there's something weird going on with my auto smooth angle. And I need to figure out what that is. Oh, that's backwards. Let's see. That's actually looking good. And yeah, I think, okay, so the other thing that we want to do here is we want to add a actual barrel in it, just for detail. The other, even low detail weapons have that, so let's add that in. Okay, so let's see. What would be a good way to do this? Well, yeah, I mean, we can start just by making a piece that's the same length, and then we'll translate it out to half its width to do the cutting. So, and we'll just keep this to be a rectangle for now. So we'll do a box mesh that is, oh, here we go. This is one of my favorites. Third seems about right. Right. Oh, yeah, actually what I can just do is I can just, yeah, I can just make it the same size and then scale it. That'll save this, and let's scale mesh, and we can scale it by 1 divided by 3 in C, and let's just take a look at these. I've got to translate this out by half the length. Maybe we could do a third in Y, but half in Z. Yeah. Okay, now we can simply do a difference. Hold Boolean difference. This is still fairly low poly, 36. Cool. Okay. Let's, there's actually, I think, one more little detail here that we can add that I think will add a lot, which is just adding a normal, slightly wider box around it. So what let's do here is let's actually subtract a little bit from the width and height here. So let's call this our width and our height. And actually, now we will actually do another, we'll just call it root, will be a box that is height, and we'll just say like a third of the length of it, and width, and that'll just be centered around where we want the pivot anyway. I like this piece, it's a good one. Okay, and then we'll just concatenate that onto the body, or union it on. Width and height like this. Yeah. So let's see how many faces we're at. I think it's still probably, yeah. I think that's still a pretty decent amount. And we could actually go just a little bit more. So we can see that detail a little bit easier. Yeah. Okay. Now, we can really easily add additional detail for the high detail version just by adding some chamfers and stuff onto this. So we can do that in a little bit here. Let's just look at this once more in the game engine. See how it looks. Yeah, that looks nice. I think it should probably not be light gray. I think it should probably be dark gray. Pretty cool. Now, okay, yeah, and those turret bases are within the area that it needs to go. I'm just trying to picture now how this would look on this model. I think it would look pretty cool. It's an interesting design in it, and the guns stick out, like, doesn't look very balanced. But I think the idea with this ship is like it's not a ship that was maybe originally intended to have weapons on it. Like, it's a Corvette kind of by necessity, not because that's what it was designed to be. But I do like the look of that. Now let's see here. How do we look on this side? Yeah, clearing the docking ring. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's work on the high detail version a little bit. So we'll work on the non-print mode first. Okay. Okay, so easy first thing we can do here, if we're in a high detail LOD, we can add a couple bevels. So we want to bevel indices 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2, 4, 5. And just by like a couple of centimeters. Yeah, so maybe a little bit more than that. I'm sort of an amateur designer, but something I've learned a lot in like making designs look good is you want to have sort of groups of scales, you know. Like if you have the general shape be this size, then you want to, oh, and I'm absolutely not doing the right bevel indices. Oh yeah. We'll flip. I think that's the problem. Yeah. You know, if you have this scale for your large structures, then you want to have, if you add more detail, then that should be quite a bit smaller, you know. Like this would look a lot less interesting if the bevel amount was say something like 0.1, right? Yeah. And for our case, you know, we don't care about, especially for the high detail stuff, we don't care about polygon sizes here or anything. So just it adds a lot of variety and visual interest to keep have lots of different details, different scales. That's also why I'm not worried too much about the polygon count of the gun. It's like the ship is low poly, but it really adds a lot of visual interest to have a higher detail, like smaller details on one part of it. Okay, so and we want to do something similar here as well. So we're going to create a kit. We're going to do a box beveled. Okay, so and then something we can do here that will give it a lot of interest is having a different bevel amount and chamfer amount here. So here I'm kind of imagining maybe like a very small bevel amount and then a bigger chamfer amount. Let's see here. Gotta visualize things a little bit here. Looks like we got a few people watching. Hope everybody's having a good evening and that you are maybe working on a creative project of your own. I know sometimes after a long day of work, it's not super easy to, oh yeah, what is going on here? Oh, I just completely put the logic in the wrong spot here. Derp. When I'm after a long day of work, and especially for me because I am a software engineer, it's sometimes hard to want to work on projects. But I like listening to live streams to encourage me to work on my creative projects, and I hope that if you're watching, you're encouraged to work on some kind of creative project too. I know for me, I get a ton of fulfillment from working on things, even if it's just a little bit at a time. Over time, just working a little bit on a project when you don't feel like it adds up. And man, this is just not working. Okay, so Doug says, same here. Seeing other people work on projects is good subliminal reinforcement. Yeah, well, and for me too, you know, I don't have a ton of friends who are working on the same kind of you know, art projects and stuff that I do necessarily. So I like, you know, finding people online that that are doing things that inspire me. Now, what is going on with this? This should not be giving me this much grief. Okay, I see what's going on. I've got to swap these around. Yeah. And we can actually do something similar here too, because I think we have I don't know why that function doesn't show up in autocomplete. It's like that has wasted a lot of time for me. Let's see here. This is just gonna be and the chamfer is gonna be that wanting the red going the other direction. Okay, so we have our high detail version now that's got nice little chamfers and things on the edge. Details like this are important for these models so that they kind of catch the light and wouldn't really want to waste polygon count on that for low poly stuff, but for the high detail stuff, like at least for the stuff that I'm doing, I don't think triangle count really is a problem in any way, shape, or form. So we're just going to go ahead and add geometry right away. And add a little bit more here. What's this gonna be? Come on. Okay. Okay, I think that is going to be good for the high detail version for now. Actually, yeah, probably we'll want to add some additional details to the hole and the cutter, but I think we want to 80-20 rule it here. So, all right. Now let's take a look and see how this looks in one of our high detail pieces, and then we'll come back, maybe make a couple tweaks to the turret for 3D printing, and then maybe even try to slice that and get it started printing. So let's take a look here. Sometimes I break these things, so we might have to fix this. If we're lucky, it'll just work. And we'll just see this stuff. Oh yeah, look at that, beautiful. There it is. And yeah, we do want to make some. I do want to make some tweaks here, because this is like, yeah, this turret doesn't quite fit on here, but yeah, let's just see how this looks. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is, Doug says this, that whole formation looks great. Yeah, this is a little bit of a test. Like, I don't know if this ship really belongs in this piece, but it's kind of fun. And let's see, like, are we kind of catching the light with this like I hoped? Yeah. So, see those little bevels kind of catch the light and show the shapes of things a little bit better. I need to put some time into better materials for some of this stuff, for the high detail stuff. Actually, yeah, probably not a job for tonight, but that is something that we could do. Is, you know, just tweak sizes and subdivision counts and things a little bit. This obviously needs to be more detailed and things. Now let's actually just take a look at something here, and let's see. Go back to solid view here. Does this actually fit? It looks like it does. Nice. Now, obviously another detail that's missing here would be like there's gonna have to be some like pipes and connectors and things. But for now, I think this is good. Okay, let us get the print version of this going. So switch over to print mode here. Clean up some of these. Oh, I wonder if I'm... Do I have a turrets? I think I've got a turrets 2 that I should be running here. Is it under miscellaneous? Where are the turret bases? Oh, they're there. Oh, weapons miss. That's it. Yeah, okay, there's the turrets. So this is what we wanna tweak for print mode. And probably, okay, so where do we want to start here? I mean, first of all, we can just increase these subdivision counts, and then for print mode, I want to probably just make these center pivots like twice as thick. Okay, so and let's just comment. There's yeah, there's one last thing here. Okay, so yeah, for print mode. Pivot height. Okay, yeah. So the all of this stuff is just straight hard coded. There's not even a LOD. Nice. All right. Well, right time to add this. Right place to add it. Let's add it. So. here. So if mode equals share dot guessing we're not passing mode in here. Oh, maybe we are. Yep, and this is good. We're still not going over the top edges of those. And you know what? Just for as long as we're in here touching this stuff, let's add some little bevels. Let's add some little bevels on those support pieces on the turret when we're in a high detail lot. Okay, so this, and let's debug exit right here. That was not it. Oh, that's the verticals is what it's called. Oh wow, this is... Oh, no, this is the vertical. What is going on here? This is ancient code. Yeah, that's definitely it. Let's see here. Oh, jeez, how horrible. Look at this. Look at this BS. Okay, so it's not going to be that simple to add pivots to this. I want to think about the math because I'd like to replace it with the same thing when I fix it. So we'll just leave that for now. Okay, and let's actually just quick run this in standard mode too. So in standard mode, the pivots are thinner. Now, we might have to increase the thickness of the base too, because I think that's something that I ran into with printing, but we'll see. Okay, and let's take a look at our high detail scene now. Make sure everything still looks like we expect it to. And then we'll try slicing these up. And we'll go from there. Yeah, that looks good. I need to make this slightly wider, or this slightly narrower. Actually, let's just take a look at this and see. Yeah, it's 3 meters wide. So this this thing just must be, that top part must be just a hair less than 3 meters, huh? That's funny. 3 meters. What gives? Oh, I guess it isn't. Yeah, now that... Yeah, with more subdivisions is actually exactly the same size now. Nice. Okay, cool. All right, well, yeah, let's slice this up and see. So, let's go to our printing bench and slice this guy up. And I'm going to get rid of these tweaks. So I added some functionality that lets me adjust just the adjust the connector sizes. So once I print up a model, I can print up new parts with connectors with slightly different sizes to try to get better fit. But for these parts, we'll just start with 0 because I didn't have this functionality when I did the dish pieces, and they fit really nice. So we'll see if the turrets do as well. And it's Jupiter BJY. How's it going? So he says, my old printer was tuned just perfect so that it didn't need margin to fit parts together. Haha. Yeah, you know, I think the Bamboo A1 is pretty close. The margin that I have is like extremely small. The problem is it kind of depends on the orientation of the parts. So like if you're printing a peg at one orientation and then the hole is at a different orientation, it might take a little tweaking. What I need to do is I need to invest some time into figuring out some connectors that have like more of a snap fit or something to them. But this is we're pretty close, and with a little glue, this would go together. This would go together just great. So, I mean, all my experiments, I'm just dry fitting everything, but like with a little glue, a little sanding, it would be really good. Okay. So. If we look at this, you can see the peg. And something I did too is I added little bevels and stuff to the pegs. That loosened them up somewhat, but it makes things fit a little bit more reliably and with less messing around. Okay, so let's just take a look at these. Now, looking at this, I think those bases are going to be too thin, but what we can do is we can get it into the slicer, and then we can actually iterate on it a little bit by reloading in the slicer. So just gonna bring all this stuff in. Okay, so now let's ding around in the slicer here. And yeah, we can just get rid of some parts that we don't need. Oh, nice. We got quite a few people watching right now. Hey, everyone. Okay, so yeah, we're just getting into some actual 3D printing stuff, which I don't know if I've ever really had a slicer up on stream. So here you can see, you know, when we were looking at, say, those dishes, you know, they have geometry that you wouldn't be able to print. But with this new functionality I built, we can kind of project a mesh down in a certain dimension and get a nice watertight sort of supported shape that we can actually print. But we're looking at these guys right now, and I think that base is going to be too thin for 0.16, but let's just see. Yep. So we get this thing that happens where it's like it just leaves the middle out. So, yeah, time to thicken up that base. Now, but what we can do here, so this is slick, we can leave these in here, and then we can do some edits, rebuild things, and then reload them from the same spot on disk. So let's do that. Okay, so let's go back to our turret base code here. Make sure we're in print mode. And I think, yeah, probably our base thickness is probably just hard-coded, right? Base. Oh yeah, that's it. So. Yeah, so part of the problem too is that the bottom of that base should probably be getting shaved off by where it sits. So it should be like, if we open up this guy, you'll see that I believe that the turret is intersecting. Yeah. So that's part of the problem, is that like when we print, it should be basically chopping that off so it becomes half thickness, and we can check that. But for now, we'll just double the thickness and rerun our export here. So those look kind of silly, but what matters is actually being able to print it. And, you know, eventually I could get fancy with tweaking these parts in different ways for different print scales, but we're not quite there yet. I just basically just want to get something working and functional. So yeah, like here, Yeah, Jupiter BJY says this seems very complicated to turn render optimized model into print optimized one. It's not. I mean, it's not exactly turning the render optimized model into print optimized. It's like we've got a set of functions that can make different kinds of models, and then kind of at the inception, right? We can make little tweaks that can take us one direction or the other. Yeah. So like here, it's cut perfectly. That should work a lot better. He says, personally, I think it wouldn't be too bad to make custom models for 3D printing for complex moving parts like antenna or turret, so we can actually rotate and move it for a cool diorama. Yeah, so that's another thing that's kind of on my backlog, is figuring out connectors that rotate, because I'm trying to make action figures too. I set this project aside early last year, but I have these little action figures, and they have the sort of peg style arms, so you can you can put them in different poses. But I would like to figure out how to do something kind of like Lego Technic pins that can pivot. And one of my ideas is to if I can come up with something where the main pieces just have holes in both sides, and then if I could print a peg, even a peg in some other material like PETG that's got a little bit more flex to it and could be a better clip or something, then I could print the pegs separately. I could have nice twisting motion, and then if one of the pegs breaks, I wouldn't have to reprint or repaint the whole model. I could just print a peg. So that's kind of a backlog item to figure out how to do that. But yeah, this looks like what I expect now. So if I let this go, that should update the models. And then now we should be able to reload. Yep, and you can see that got twice as thick. Okay. Now, let's try slicing again. Yes, there we go. Now, that looks thin, but doable. Now, one other problem that I see here is I'm not sure about this hole. The hole looks pretty big. So let's actually just get rid of, let's not do the cutting in print mode. So, okay, so if we're in print mode, so now we want to add a print mode to our, so yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about, Jupiter BJY. We're not really converting the high detail models to something printable. When we make the model, we can know the purpose that it's going to have, and we can change things on the fly. So if the mode is if we're not going to print it, then I'll do the whole cutting. So yeah. I suppose another thing I could do is I could try to make the cutter smaller, narrower. Actually, why don't we do that? So if we're not printing, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll make the cutter this. Yeah, we'll see what this does. Yeah, so Jupiter BJY says, so it's more close to data than model to define rough shape, and the details are added like panel lining once when you made before. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still figuring out the right abstractions for things, and that's kind of the fun of this project, is kind of the journey of figuring that out. But I like this, right? So we made this function, right, for making this cannon, and it's all here, right? The low detail version for the game, the high detail version. You can clearly see, okay, you know, if we're doing a high detail version, we're adding bevels and chamfers and things. You can see if we're printing, we're changing the size of the hole. But it's all kind of coming from the same logic, and I like that. Because you could conceivably tweak one aspect of it and maybe not have to change the logic for the other aspect. I think that's the other goal, right? Is that yeah, let's compare. Yeah, see, that looks more doable for the printer. Yeah, cool. All right, well, yeah, this is it's technically a particle cannon, but it could be different things, right? It doesn't matter too much. Let's see here. Yeah, about 20 minutes to print this, or 20 minutes or half hour. Let's see. Ooh, we have a lot going. How about this? How about we're going pretty good here. Let's actually get this started printing, and I'll work on something else, and then we'll see if it finishes. If it finishes without problems, I can actually test it on the ship, and you all could see. This is really putting myself on the spot, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. I like putting myself on the spot. So, all right, let's oh, okay. So yeah, that's a good point. So Jupiter BJY points out that the support wasn't generated on the peg side. Yeah, I think that just needs sometimes if I bump this up. Yeah. I try to avoid anything manual. There are some little bridges there, but I think those are small enough that they should work. So I'm gonna go turn on the printer. It's in the other room, and then we're going to actually, let me just save this first. So and going to turn on the printer and then I'll be back. We'll get it started and we'll work on some other stuff for a little bit, as long as we've got some people watching, and then we'll see if this actually worked or not. We can actually test fit it and everything. Okay. Alright, and I turned on some lights in there, so we should be able to see through the awful camera. I'm just gonna double check one last time, make sure that I got rid of my tweaks. I don't want it's surprising to me that they couldn't come up with a better, like, higher frame rate webcam on these printers. I mean, like, it doesn't need to be fast, but just like everything about these printers just is so nice that it's like we're still dealing with these garbage webcams. I should actually set up my Pi in there, and that actually worked pretty well, putting a webcam on the Raspberry Pi. But we're going to be doing some other work, not watching the 3D printing. So tell you what, I'm going to actually, while this starts up, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll be back, and we will do some maybe game dev stuff. I've got a couple little tweaks and things that we can do, so just enjoy watching the very low FPS 3D printer in my den, and I will be back in just a sec. All right, so the webcam makes it very hard to see, but it looks like we got a good first layer. I don't know if it's the filament or if I need a new to replace the nozzle or something, but I've been having some kind of sloppy first layers on my A1 the past few times. Doesn't really seem to affect much, but wanted to just make sure that everything looked good for that first layer. But now that that's underway, let's get back into some game dev stuff. So what I'd like to do is what I'd like to do now is do a couple tweaks to the to some of the game weapon stuff, and this is a little bit overdue. So something that I haven't done so far is I haven't bothered to do some little polish stuff with some of the game weapons, like things like making sure that the size of the beams from particle cannons match up with the size of the models that they're supposed to be coming out of, stuff like that. So I thought since we have a new weapon, might be a good time to verify that that looks good for this gun that we just made this time. Ship cannon, not a gun. So Jupiter BJY says, yeah, the 3D printing Reddit reports the newer A1 models are melting and burning. Yeah, you know, I've heard about that. I bought mine at the beginning of last year, so I've had it for about a year. Something I've heard about A1s though too is that they don't have, there's no cooling on the motherboard, so you're not supposed to run them in enclosures, but I know a lot of people just do that anyway. I don't know if that's a factor, but it's worked great so far. Like I said, I'm a little concerned about this kind of sloppy first layer thing that I've seen, but that might just be old filament that's set out, and I have filament dryers and things, but I'm not sure if that has worked as well as it should have, and I don't know. There's a lot of factors. The interesting thing about 3D printing is there's just so many variables that affect things. It can be really hard to tell what the actual cause of a problem is. But the good news is that decent quality 3D printers have gotten so cheap now, and they just keep getting better. You know, a lot of those variables are eliminated when you get a nice printer, and nice 3D printers are cheap now, so that's good. All right, let's let me just rerun the low detail game models script here, generate everything for the game, and let's poke around in the game a little bit. I think let me just double check this. Actually, I don't want to do mission 1. Try mission 1 should be fine. Actually, I'll just make the enemy something less scary. That's funny. I must have goofed up some of my logic with firing. I was hoping to pause and be able to see what the yeah, see that looks about right. Maybe a little bit wide, but not too much. What I was hoping to do though is I'd like to let the weapons have some kind of parameter that describes how thick the beam that comes out of them should be, and be able to do something. You know, do something smarter. I think right now there's a lot of hard-coded stuff, so Jupiter BJY says that turret tracking target is all such a pleasure. Yeah, I gotta it's kind of awful how the tracking works though. I need to come up with a slightly better way to do it. Let's see where we're at. We're about 60% done. Just judging from this, everything looks good so far. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna review how we make those beams, and I think it's components. Let's see here. Do I have a radius? Yeah, I also have this hard-coded, yeah, see, this is all hard-coded. I don't like that. Let's actually just see if we can fix hard-coding this. I don't think that should be too hard to do. Article... Actually, is it called beam weapon? I'm revisiting parts of this project that I haven't probably touched for a year. So a lot of the information about ships and ship components is sort of separate from the game. Yeah, weapon type. Energy weapon info. Okay. So I want to add a beam radius to this. How hard could this be to add? Let's see. And this is the right place for that, right? Because this is something that is... And you know, this is something that I want to I wanted to add anyway because I'd like to do some stuff like have the beams like have a little bit of spread to them so they lose accuracy over distance, and we want to eventually have range in here. Like I don't have I don't have any of that. That's all kind of hard coded right now. So let's just add this in. Let's I'm sure this is going to just break a whole crap ton of stuff, but let's see if we can just fix it just for the case of this scenario that's running here. So I think the only beam weapons that are being constructed is this new cannon, so we don't have to worry about the other ones for now, or maybe we do. Actually, probably all these are being constructed, but that's okay. So we'll just say the beam radius is this. Let's see if this... Yeah, all of these are going to fail. So basically, wherever we have info, we're going to have to add a beam radius, but that's not too hard. Okay, cool. And then what we should be able to do, he bounced off the station. Something that I added to the game, and it's still a work in progress, but something that I added not too long ago is like much nicer collision detection for things. So I had this system where I would sort of manually add collision primitives, and now if you don't add those, it will just use the geometry, which works fine because it's all pretty low poly, and then you can exclude things like some of the little details on the station are excluded because they don't matter, but the big shapes are kept. The whole thing just works much better now. Okay, so now let's actually do something where we use that radius when we construct our beams. And we're really close, so let's see if we can do this. Nice, still quite a few people watching. Okay, so yeah, so basically when we have a weapon info here, so scale is going to be three. Scale default, and then now let's see here. Is my my old Surface of Revolution thing. I'm trying to figure out what I was doing here. Yeah, so I actually want to divide that by 2. Because this has radius 2. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Let's just do this quick, and then so skill. Alright, let's just give this a quick test. So basically things should look, oh yeah, it's like half that now. So we actually want all the places that we change this should be 0.4. And then just to make sure that this is working for this, let's just try something crazy. Woo! Big beam. Alright. Cool. So now we can tweak beams to match the size. Alright, I'm going to pull those things off of the 3D printer and bring them in here. And we'll see if they fit. And I'll do this so you can see a little bit better. So off the printer they look like this. So we have the pretty heavy support structure. They're very small. You can see why you know, the previous models that had little you know, very small barrels and stuff didn't print. And yeah, there is not much stringing at all. So I've got 2 of them, so I should have, hopefully I can get this off without breaking it. I'll try to be careful. We've got two tries, I guess. You know, kind of talking about having these different, oh yeah, that came off pretty well. These different applications. Another sort of design constraint that I think is interesting to think about is not just will it print, but you know, you'd want to print something that is not fragile, and you know, you're not going to destroy by removing the supports from. Yeah, there's a little bit of, you know, little crud around where the supports were, but looks pretty good overall. We'll do this other one here. So Jupiter BJY says, my Delta printer ain't satisfying enough after countless calibrations. Is it just, is it not accurate, not fine? Um, what's the issue with it? I'm curious. I feel like I found out about Delta printers not too long after I got mine. People were kind of talking about them, but then it was really like people really getting into Core XY, like Voron type stuff. That's what everybody was talking about. So yeah, I'll probably have to clean these up a little bit with the jackknife, but here they are. And let's see if they fit. So I'm kind of expecting these to be a little bit on the loose side, but I guess we'll find out. Oh yeah, perfect. These actually press in and fit kind of snug. I don't think they're gonna fall out. So yeah, definitely need a little bit of cleanup, but look at that. Now, how cool is that? During a live stream, we said, okay, we want some guns. We designed a new simple but nice cannon design. We adjusted it for clean this off a little bit. We adjusted it for low poly, for high detail, blender rendering. We tweaked it for printing. We printed it off and we added it to our model. This is what I was imagining this project would be like a couple of years ago. You know, when I was cranking on this stuff. Yeah, that's a little bit rough, but that's okay. And it's so cool to see it actually getting there, and really enjoying this. So, and we did a little game dev too, fiddling around with data structures and making some things tweakable. So, all right, well, I think that's a good stopping point for tonight. This was a great live stream, and I'm very happy with how this turned out. Next, I got to print a good stand for this, and I got to print the radiators too. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. All right, well, thanks everyone for watching, hanging out with me. I hope this was interesting and fun, and I hope you're inspired to work on your creative projects too. And if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Lots more interesting work to be done on this project. 3D printing, toy making, game dev, all kinds of stuff. I'd like to get back into the action figure stuff that I showed here too, now that I'm getting some of these 3D printing process things nailed down a little bit more. It'd be fun to pick that back up. It's fun to kind of cycle through different aspects of this project and come back. But yeah, I think we had a pretty good evening, and yeah, hope to see you again, and have a good night.